Hey!
Good afternoon.
My name is Dedra, and we're going to be talking about professional communication. More specifically, we're going to be talking about professional communication competency. And Webster defines communication is the act of or process of using words, sounds, signs, or behaviors to express or exchange information or to express your ideas, thoughts, and feelings to someone else. Communication is a message given to someone via letter, phone call, and now that we are in the digital era, emails, blogs, text messages, IM, TV, radio, and social network. Wikipedia states professional communication encompasses written, oral, visual, and digital communication within a workplace context. In business and professional communication in a digital age, Waldeck, Kearney, and Plex state communication is more than just talking. Communicators vary in their communication skills and confidence. Problems can occur at any point during communication, and they usually do. Finally, business settings can magnify communication problems. So, we can all agree that effective communication is an important skill for professional success, right?
Yes.
Communication is filled with challenges, varying skills, misunderstandings, and conflicts. But despite all this, communication is important in all types of careers and interactions, such as interviews, relationships, mediated communications, presentational speaking, group discussions, such as this one, written documents, and training. As you can see, communication can be fascinating and complex. We must consider that it's done automatically, so you really have no control over communicating. You have a lot of control over what you say. Most communication is processed linear, and there are 5 stages to this process. And I gave you some pages that have those stages on there. You can read through them, or I'm going to go through them anyway. First, you decide your message. You determine your goal, which could be influencing someone, motivating someone, negotiating with someone. It could be improving a person, or it can be social. It can be as simple as saying good morning, or as complex as resolving a conflict that occurred at work. It doesn't matter what your goal is. What is more important is that it's well thought out. Next would be encoding, which can be a simple process, but more often it's complex. Knowing the language of your audience is an important part of this process. For example, you ask someone to meet you at a specific time and location, and they reply, whatever. Now you're confused because the response is vague and dismissive. This is a word that is used often, but in my opinion, whatever is a word that should be removed as a response, solely because it leaves the receiver wondering, what do they really mean? Now, communication has just become complicated, just by using that word. We must understand the meaning of messages are subjective. What one person thinks is positive can be negative to another person. Therefore, it is important on selecting the appropriate mode of transmitting your message. That's key. This may mean using the internet, social networks, the telephone, a print, and face-to-face communication. However, In this digital age, we really must choose our vocabulary carefully. Our messages arrive at its destination in hopes that it is perceived how we intended it. Simple messages can be interpreted almost instantaneously, but complex messages might take a while. The receiver might be unfamiliar with your language use, or your dialect. They might be distracted or have lack of experience in understanding your word choices. All of these can interfere with understanding the message and achieving the right response. All this occurs when a message is sent in one direction to one other person. But let's consider a conversation done simultaneously with many people. Messages are being sent and interpreted verbally and non-verbally all at the same time, with a high potential of being misunderstood. Waldeck, Carney, and Platt state in business and professional communication is in a digital age that communication competence is the ability to choose among available communicated behaviors to accomplish one goal during an encounter. Communication competence is knowing what's appropriate, cultivating communication skills, and being motivated to communicate. Yes?
Who has the greatest responsibility, the sender or the receiver?
Well, the sender has the responsibility of making sure what they're sending out is arriving in an appropriate way, a way that the receiver can understand it. But the receiver has the responsibility of letting the sender know they didn't understand it. So I guess you would say the sender has the most responsibility.
So how do you go about preparing for an audience with multiple levels of understanding? Do you target just your main audience, or do you target different levels of communication in there?
Well, you cannot reach everybody, especially if it's a large number. But you find the middle ground where the majority of the people will understand, and you speak within that middle ground. But you be flexible enough that if you have to explain or go into more details, that you can. Yes.
So of the 5 basic stages of communication that you listed, which one would you say is the most important?
Actually, I think that the very first one is more important, because it's you have to think about what you're going to say before you even send it out there. So if you don't think about it and you just send it out there, then all of the other ones is kind of null and void, because it's going to go out wrong. It's not going to reach the intended person, and you're not going to get back what you were planning to get back because you didn't prepare ahead of time. So, you may encounter, unfortunately we encounter people at work who don't really grasp the intricacies of verbal and nonverbal communication. And they may act in a way that is not beneficial to themselves or you. They may not be listening. They may not present clear and articulate information. Waldeck, Carney, and Platt explains that because of these very issues, you will have barriers in business communication, such as mindless messaging. So people just sending messages with no rhyme or reason. Ethical dilemmas, self-interest, communication apprehension, so people just not going to communicate at all, or they're afraid to, and ineffective use of new media. There will also be challenges in knowing when to use face-to-face contact, how to manage your stress and information overload, and how to relate interculturally, because now we're global. And knowing these barriers exist and now living in this digital age, we must consider how we incorporate new media into our communication and take into consideration some ineffective ways it can be used, such as forwarding emails to the wrong person and inadvertently hurting that person because they were not the intended person. Or maybe using social media to send some information and now your company is compromised because it shouldn't have been on social media. Or how about, because we're constantly connected, we forget that there are time differences in different time zones. So then now you're talking to people who may be in bed. And because you didn't know that, yeah, we connected, but there's still time differences. And then this is the biggest one for me of all, because we're constantly connected through digital devices. Now your works come home with you. So you get home and now you're doing work at home, and it interferes with family time. That's the biggest drawback to me in incorporating new media into business. There's no separation between family and work. Any question? Yes.
So, with all the research that you did, would you say that new media is a hindrance to people now as opposed to like back then?
I think new media is a challenge to people. It's not a hindrance. I think that if you learn how to use it appropriately and for the purpose that it's intended for, then it's a blessing to any business or person. But if you use it incorrectly, you find that people use social media to publicize their entire day, minute by minute. So then what happens is, because all of the information is out there, you can't take it back. So if you don't want somebody to see it, then you don't post it. So then now you run into the risk of a boss or coworker. Maybe it's a coworker who's trying to climb that ladder, and they done saw something you posted, and now it gets back to work. Maybe it's a boss looking to see what your true character is, and they're scrolling and they find what you posted. So it's how we use it, how much we use it, that determines whether it's a good thing or not, but not the technology itself. But I gave you a list of some of the different new medias that's out there that's used in business and how they're used. Yes.
Do you think that new media in general, such as emailing, or what's another one of the media sources that we use today? Skype and stuff like that. Do you think it's not very personal? It's taken away from where you used to write a letter. Now you got instantaneous. Do you think a lot of thought is being put into what we send out?
I don't know how to answer that particular question, because it's subjective. It's each individual, on if they take the time to think about and write what they want to write, even if it's an email, or even if it's on Skype. Skype and video calls are a blessing, because you get to interact with clients and customers and people all over the world. So how personable is it? Well, it depends on how much of your person you want to put into your business. I think that you can still have a connection by using these devices, but that's up to you.
Okay. How do you know you have effectively reached your audience? How do you know that the feedback that you're getting is effective? Or you, or as the communicator, have been effective in communicating? How do you know that?
Well, I guess it's the feedback that comes back. I mean, if somebody didn't understand it, then they're gonna say, "Well, I didn't understand what you was talking about." If it wasn't unclear, if it was rambling, or if they got it and they were like, you know, in agreement with you, or they appreciate, you know, they give you feedback, basically.
I think with the new media, in response to what Justin was asking about, and James, maybe James, you may have touched on it, but anyway, James had asked about if whether or not new media, new forms of media is personal or not. And I think that it takes away from, and you said it's subjective. I think it's objective. I believe it takes away from that human interaction. We can email one another all day, but it's still not the same as actually seeing one another and carrying on a conversation face to face. I went to a conference a few weeks ago, and the host of the conference gave an example of a supervisor and his subordinate. There was some conflict about something, but anyway, the supervisor, because he doesn't like to communicate face to face, he went back to his office, which was literally next door, and sent the subordinate an email, basically a scathing email about what he did or didn't do, when all he had to do was confront him face to face. But some people hide behind it.
But that goes back to some of the challenges. I mean, it's challenges with even just having face-to-face communication. So now we add in a device, and we add in the fact that I don't have to be in your face, or I don't even have to look at you to send you a message. So now we took something that could have, by sitting down face-to-face and talking, and you get to see the body language and the nonverbal communication, and you get to really understand what the person is talking about. So now you're doing emails and blogs and text messaging, which lends to confusion, which makes it even worse. But there is a way that you can use it in business. I'm not saying that everybody uses it effectively. Some people use it as an scapegoat. Some people use it to hide. Is that effective professional communication? Probably not. But there is a way that you can use it professionally and communicate well.
That's true.
I just want to piggyback on the question that I had asked earlier about feedback. And what I was really getting at is there are many means or methods of feedback. You have body language, you have verbal. And my question was, do you depend on one more than the other to clarify that your message has been received? Because a lot of times people can say something, but the body language says something different. So do you depend on either one more than the other?
You wouldn't depend on it. You would take it all, and you would put it all together, and you would make a decision based upon that. I mean, if somebody's folding their arms and rolling their eyes, if they're yearning, if they're constantly interrupting, if they're applauding, if they're clapping, it's all you put together, and then you do a summary based upon that on how effective you were. But that's the only way you're really going to tell them, that everybody just turn around, get up and walk out. Then you know how this is going. You know? But in all that being said, we can have controlled professional communication, and it can be common. You just have to set proper goals, and remember that communication is interactive and continuous. Communication comes with challenges and misunderstandings, but if we keep this in mind and be prepared and open to the things that will happen in communicating, especially because we're in a digital and global age, then professional communication competencies can be achieved. Thank you.